Alright, guys, so this next Patreon request comes from Tom Hibbert, who asked me to do a three-way crossover, if you can believe it, a three-way crossover between Doctor Who, Back to the Future, and Assassin's Creed. So let's see if I can make this work. Jesus Christ. Anyway, as always, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request done, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon where you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. You guys can get the it's the third tier in my Patreon in the link below. So yeah. Anyway, so let's get started with this video. So the story begins, I guess you could say, at the end of I'm trying to think of like where exactly this would probably be the best ending. I would say somewhere like in part one, like Back to the Future Part 1, where in that the Doc and Marty are getting out of the car and they're like, holy crap, that was a adventure and whatnot, that was amazing. But what happens is that the house, Doc's house / laboratory is beset upon by the moment he goes into his goes to his house, and Marty's like, hey Doc, what's with all the angel statues? And he's like, angel statues? He's like, yeah, you got all these weird like angel statues. What'd you go I didn't know you collected statues. Like, Marty, get into the house and don't look away from those statues. He's like, what? He like looks at it, like, what? And he sees it comes at him, and yep, it's weeping angels. So, Marty has to force himself to stare as he and Doc go into the house, and he notices that the statues are moving closer and closer to them. So it's bad. It's pretty bad. So these angels are, getting close. The weeping angels are getting closer and closer to the house, but it isn't until they hear a sound in the lab, and it's the sound of the TARDIS, and the door flies open, and it's not Tennant Doctor. This is, for this one, we're using Tom Baker era Doctor. He and Sarah Jane throw open the door, and they're like, well, are you coming in or not, Dr. Brown? And they run in, and the Doc and Doctor are clearly not okay with each other. But the Doctor and Sarah Jane are like, well, we gotta move now, so before the angels come in and get us. So they take off. So the Doctor explains that Doc Brown and he had met way back in his first incarnation. Basically what had happened was, Doc, when he was younger, met a time-traveling Doc, a younger, when I say quotes, air quote, Doctor, this was the first Doctor. He met him when Doc Brown was a child. And basically, after his encounter with the first Doctor, he had been enthralled by time travel, and that was kind of his gateway into wanting to learn more about time travel and wanting to understand it. So he built the DeLorean. The Doctor, of course, didn't like that, because the idea of humans using time travel, let alone one put in a car, there's going to be some ramifications. And the Doctor's like, look, I know you don't like us right now, but we have other problems right now. And he's like, yeah, the weeping angels. And Marty's like, yeah, what are the weeping angels? And he's like, the Doctor explains that they are basically beings that feed off of time energy. That basically they touch you and they feed off of the life you could have had and send you back somewhere else. And right now they've been coming after you because you have something that someone wants. The weeping angels are being used as attack dogs, and Doc Brown is like, attack dogs by who? And he goes, it's the Knights Templar. And Marty's like, okay, Doctor, are you telling me that the Knights Templar are controlling time-traveling angel monsters? And he's like, yes. So they have to go to an exact point in order to in order to stop the alliance between the Weeping Angels and the Knights Templar. And that takes them all the way back to the point where the Doctor, the Doctor believes that the first alliance was, like, way back in time with the Knights Templar, and that takes them all the way back to the early 1700s, and this leads them to Edward Kenway, the assassin from, of course, he's the pirate assassin from Black Flag. Basically, what happened is that during a voyage, during a mission to assassinate a member of the Templars that had come in from across the sea, they landed on an unknown island that was covered that was actually like a home base for the Angels. This led to the Templars actually, finding a way to make an alliance with the Angels, let them feed as much as they want, but also learn about, like, the cosmos in return. So this alliance has to be stopped now, or the Angel Templar alliance will completely devastate everything. And the Doctor goes back to that point, and of course, being Tom Baker's Doctor, he kind of ends up landing on the Jackdaw. And all four of them get out just as they all have guns drawn, pistols and swords drawn on them. And the Doctor's like, "What a lovely bunch, you're so violent. Would anyone like a jelly baby?" So the Doctor explains what's going on, and this is Edward had just encountered, like, the Stone Angels and barely got away from them. So he's like, "What do you suggest?" And the Doctor and Doc Brown both suggest that lead them to the island. So they do, and the Doctor, all five of them now, it's now a 5-person party, have discovered that, the Templars and the Doctor, the Templars and the Angels have already formed their alliance, and already have set a trap because the Angels were like, we kind of figured you guys would be coming at some point. The Angels told us about the Time Lord and whatnot. We just weren't expecting you. That isn't until, like, when everything all seems lost, that's when the DeLorean comes roaring in and actually, like, comes flying in, and they're like, who has the DeLorean? Like, who took the DeLorean? And at that moment, when the door comes open, it's Matt Smith's Doctor. It's the 11th Doctor, and the 11th Doctor's like, "Oh, the scarf was a look." So the 11th Doctor more or less explains, "Look, I set off this island was never meant on the map because there was a tectonic shift. Well, guess who activated it? I knew that I was in danger, so I sent a message to myself to go get the DeLorean, because the reason why the Angels are there, because the Templars sent them to either kill Doc Brown or at least take the DeLorean. It was an and/or situation. So the Doctor sent a message to make sure that that a future version of himself would grab the DeLorean, make sure it's out of the Angels' hands. So everyone gets into the Doctor gives everyone a lift, gets them to safety, and by the end of it, Edward is just like, "That shit was insane. Well, I don't want to see any of you again." And everyone parts ways after the end of the Angel Templar alliance. So there you go, guys. I tried my best with this one. So once again, thank you, Tom Hibbert, for this Patreon request, as well as continued patronage. And like I said, if you guys would like to have a Patreon request, just hit the link below, head on over to my Patreon, hit the 3rd tier, and you guys can start sending me requests for videos to do here on YouTube. But other than that, hope you all enjoyed this. I'm Mr. Multiverse. I'll see you next time, the Multiverse.